Hello and welcome to another Sparks Live cookalong. Now, this is not just any cookalong tonight. This is a world record attempt for the most amount of people signed up to an online cooking tutorial. So I am so excited about this. No pressure, everyone, but we could be world record breakers here. I'm going to hand over now to Sophia from the Guinness World Records to tell us a little bit more about tonight and what's going to be happening. Sophia.
Hello everyone, such a pleasure to be involved. Through booking tickets for this online cooking tutorial, you are all taking part in an official Guinness World Records attempt. That's right, it's not often you can say that you're taking part in something like this, so it's a very special day indeed. All you have to do is take part now, enjoy the show, and I'll be back afterwards to let you know whether it's been successful or not. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Sophia. I like that. Enjoy the show. We are going to have some fun, as always. And we're going to get started by talking about what we're making, which is a sweet pepper and pesto store-cupboard risotto. Let's get the ingredients up on the screen for you there now. So we've got a vegetable stock cube, we've got some olive oil, some easy garlic, half a jar, you could use regular garlic cloves, sun-dried tomatoes, drained and roughly chopped. We've got some risotto rice. We've also got some roast red peppers. We've got some pesto, some basil leaves, and some cheese. You could use Parmesan, Pecorino, Italian hard cheese, whatever you would like. Now, let's pull up the method there. Obviously, we're cooking along together, but we can show the method if you want to have a look. Just really quick run through. We're going to cook off the garlic. We'll be adding in those sun-dried tomatoes, in with the rice, in with the stock, and we'll finish it off with some pesto and a little bit of cheese and basil. So let's have a look at everything out in front of me there, and we can get started. So there's certain things we could substitute into this. So for instance, we're using sun-dried tomatoes and red peppers. If you didn't have one of them, I mean, even just some frozen peas could go into this. I think when you've got the base of a risotto, you can really add whatever it is you want into it. We're going to get started straight away. So we've got a pan on, just on a simmer. You can just fill that up with boiling water. Crumble in a stock cube. Now I'm using veg stock here. However, you could definitely use chicken stock if you wanted to. You could use a pouch of stock. I've just kept it a veg stock cube because we're going for a veggie dish tonight. So our stock is in there. And you just need that simmering away. It just needs to be hot. We don't need that boiling rapidly. So we can just turn that down. Now, first thing we want to do is get our pan, large non-stick frying pan, on to a medium sort of heat. I say medium, go medium-low here. You want to get a few tablespoons of olive oil in there, and you need plenty of oil because what's going to happen later is that is going to coat all of those lovely grains of risotto rice. And we'll be starting off with the garlic. So half a jar of this goes in. This is fairly garlicky. Obviously, if you don't like garlic so much, you don't have to put as much in, or if you love garlic, you could put a lot more in. So this easy garlic, a fantastic product to have in your fridge. I mean, as the name suggests for this recipe, it's all stock cupboard ingredients, so it doesn't get much simpler, and it really goes to show if you've got some nice things in the stock cupboard, you can really rustle up a delicious meal in no time at all. And for anyone that hasn't made risotto before, it's not a difficult thing to make. It's just a case of knowing the process, and then you can do whatever it is you want to do with it. So let's just see if the oil's hot enough. What you need to do to see if the oil's hot enough is drop a little bit of garlic in. I can see mine isn't quite hot enough because there's no sizzle on it yet. As soon as that starts to have a little sizzle, we're good to go. So let's have a little look. I'm using Italian hard cheese. I'm going to go full on vegetarian tonight, but obviously Parmesan you can use. Pesto, we're going to use a little bit of pesto. If you've got any bread or anything in the cupboard that needs using, perfect thing to serve with it. Pop it in the toaster or under the grill. You can spread a bit of that on there, even a little bit more Parmesan. Do yourself some nice little sort of pesto toasts to go with it. Okay, let's just get the garlic in there now. And I've got to say a big shout out to my friend Chris Brooks' mum, Anne Brooke. They're cooking along tonight. I know she is really looking forward to this, so I thought, why not say hello? And if anyone cooks this tonight, please do tag me in your pictures and share them on Instagram because it's always amazing to see what you've all been cooking. In we go with the garlic. It's just, well, you can't really see it, right? Just starting to sizzle away there. in the pan. We'll give that a couple of minutes. Take the heat really low. Now, what you don't want to do is actually burn the garlic. If it burns, you're going to end up with a bitter flavour. So we just want to keep the heat low, and that's going to slowly infuse the flavour of the garlic into the oil, and that flavour of the garlic and the oil will then go into the rice, which is going to make the risotto taste really, really good. Stir it through. And I feel like this sort of combination of ingredients is perfect for just springtime, coming on to summer, sun-dried tomatoes, pesto, basil. Really is going to be really good. Now, sun-dried tomatoes, they will be the next ingredient. If you haven't yet prepped them, just get them out of a jar. I've already drained these off. You can sort of put half a jar in, however, you can put them all in if you want to. It's not really a specific amount here. It's really going by what you want to put in there. And I'll tell you what would be really nice. I've done this one before with, in the deli range, you can get the sun-dried tomato and little mozzarella cherries. And I would put the sun-dried tomatoes in now and just drop those mozzarella cherries in towards the end of the cooking process, just to give a little different flavour. And you can experiment with different types of cheese. Even stirring through like a lovely cream cheese at the end gives a nice creamy finish. And if you wanted to go sort of vegan on this, just leave the cheese out. It's still really good. Because we constantly stir in a risotto, that is what makes it creamy. So you'll still end up with a nice creamy, silky smooth texture. Okay, so once the garlic is just slightly golden, let's have a little look on there. You can sort of see on the spoon, a little bit of colour on there. Okay, we're going to throw in these tomatoes now. They're going to take 2 or 3 minutes. And there's a question coming in, what does bite mean on rice? So often with like rice and pasta, you hear them say, have it with a little bit of bite to it. That means that it's not sort of soft all the way through. If you were to bite into one grain, you would feel a tiny bit of resistance and tension there. Or if you were to cut it through with a spoon, you'll feel you will have to sort of cut right through. And that, for me, is what we're going for. That's what al dente is all about. So Beatrix would like to know how many people this serves. This will easily serve 4 people as a main. However, if you're having friends over for dinner and you want to do a nice little starter, this could do 6 to 8 for a smaller portion before a bigger meal. Keep your questions coming in tonight. Okay. And the smell already is really, really delicious. I'm just going to wipe the oil off my hands there. And yeah, keep the questions coming in. Where can you find the recipe? The recipes are online for this. All of them are on the M&S website. And hopefully you've seen what we're up to with Fresh Market Update on the TV at the minute. Myself and Lucy Verasamy are going around the country meeting some of the amazing suppliers, producers, farmers for M&S. So I've literally got back from Jersey this afternoon. I've come straight here. I mean, a dream come true for me. I've been in Jersey where Jersey Royals grow, and I got to eat them fresh from the field. We've got 2 fantastic recipes coming up. They're actually online already, but they will be going out on the TV in the next week. And this week we were doing cheese in Cornwall. That was what was on TV. Cornish Cove and Cornish Cruncher Cheddar Toasties. Give them a go this weekend. They are so, so easy. Literally, sourdough bread, butter the outsides, flip them over, a bit of chutney in the middle, any chutney you want. You've got Cornish Cruncher, which has a little bit more acidic and a bit of bite to it, and that really smooth, mellow Cornish Cove. As much cheese as you want, I'm going to say, in the middle, lid on top, butter on the outside. You're frying them for a couple of minutes on each side. You're going to get the most amazing crunchy golden exterior and gooey soft centre. So you've got that salty cheese and that sweet apple chutney in the middle, and it is the salty crystals in the Cornish Cruncher that almost remind me of Parmesan. And I met a guy, Paul, who was the cheese grader. You might have seen him on TV this week, but he sort of says that Cornish Cruncher reminds him of the Cornish coastline in that it's as rugged in texture as the coast, and the flavour is as smooth and as creamy as the grass the cows eat and the milk it produces, creamy as that. So it's that balance. It really is a unique cheese. If you haven't tried it, you've really got to do it. Okay, now we are going to put in our rice. So you can see there the tomatoes, the garlic. It's starting to cook down nicely. The tomatoes are just softening and it smells delicious. All of our rice goes in. This is risotto rice. That's a short grain. Perfect for risottos. Okay, start to stir that through. And Karen would like to know if you can make garlic butter with the chopped garlic. You can definitely make garlic butter with the chopped garlic. All I would do, I'd probably drain it all off, just soften some butter, and literally mix through your easy garlic, and then you can, my top tip, put it on some cling film and almost roll it up like a sausage, twist the ends in, pop it in the fridge, or you can even put it in the freezer to set it. Then you can just cut off discs of garlic butter. So if you're going to do a steak, take one of those out, pop it on top of a steak, and you've just made the most amazing easy garlic butter. Talking of butter, the Jersey butter that we've just had in Jersey was off the charts. So stirring your risotto around, this is a really key point. It's called toasting the rice. And the reason we do it, you can see you want to coat all of the grains in the oil. Now, doing that creates like a crust around the rice. It stops everything just coming out and turning into mush, and it will help it absorb all of those amazing flavors that we're building up in the pan. So that might take a couple of minutes. Some people call it cracking the rice, but it really is toasting. And if you actually have a look at the grains, you'll see you're almost getting like a translucent edge. You probably can't see on there. You need to get in there at home and have a look. A translucent edge around the rice. And you can't skip this step. Heat down to a medium. Susan would like to know, can I reheat this the next day? You definitely can. You can just pop it back into a pan and heat it through there. Again, you just need to heat it for a few minutes. Stir it all the time until it's absolutely piping hot. Or you can even just pop it into the microwave and make sure it's piping hot. But you can definitely eat it the next day. Right, once your rice has got to the stage where it's translucent and you've toasted it, take a ladle full of stock. In it goes. We do one ladle at a time here. This will take 15 to 20 minutes. And the key to a risotto is to add the stock one ladle at a time until it is all absorbed. So you can see that first ladle's gone in, and we stir, stir, stir until all of that absorption's happened, and then we go in with our next. And it'll take 15 to 20 minutes. Do you have to wash the rice? You don't have to wash the rice for a risotto because we want that creamy, silky texture. We want all of that starch in the rice. If we were doing basmati rice for a curry, we would definitely wash it because we want individual fluffy grains. However, when it comes to risotto, that starch is a key element, which is what gives us that silky creaminess. So you're probably going to add your stock at a different time to me. Really, it's just a case now. For the next 15 minutes or so, add a ladleful, keep on stirring, and this is making risotto. Get yourself a glass of wine, put the radio on. Perfect way to spend a Friday night. And Nicola's asking, how else would I use sun-dried tomatoes? I mean, I mentioned at the start about putting some pesto on bread, but if you've got some lovely sourdough, ciabatta, if you've got some mozzarella cheese, just some slices of mozzarella, some sun-dried tomatoes, pop it under the grill for a few minutes until that starts to melt. That is delicious. Or you can even do that as a toasted sandwich. I mentioned the Cornish Cruncher and Cornish Cove Toasty. Mozzarella, sun-dried tomatoes in a toasty is delicious. And you can stir it through pastas and things as well, you know. It's just about getting experimental. Keep the questions coming in, guys. Another spoonful going in there. Like this. Keep on stirring. And what an amazing thing to think we might well break a world record tonight. Not bad for a Friday. In we go. And I'm using pesto here tonight to finish this off. So 4 teaspoons is probably the amount I'll use. However, you can put more or less in. This is just sort of like a base recipe. You can add what you want to it. Once you know the volume of rice and the volume of stock, you can go either way you want with it. So for me, when asparagus comes into season, I love to do an asparagus risotto. You'd start off with a classic white risotto, which is just onions, garlic, rice and stock, and then literally in with some fresh sliced asparagus for the last few minutes of cooking. Keep all the crunch, loads of Parmesan cheese, a good dollop of butter, a little bit of basil or parsley, and that is just perfect for springtime. Or when you're coming into sort of the autumn, I love to do this with butternut squash or pumpkin. You roast it off in the oven, and then again, just keep it simple. Onions, garlic, stock, rice, and you can actually puree half of that pumpkin or squash and you've roasted it off with some garlic and rosemary, and you stir it through, it gives it an orange colour, a bit like we're doing green with the pesto, and then you save the chunks. For dressing it up at the end. Okay, so wine is also commonly used in risotto. However, I want to keep this really family friendly. Also, it adds a little bit more expense to the recipe. However, classically, you would add a bit of wine in, and the time to add it is before the stock. So after you've sort of sauteed the onions down, you can toast the rice off, and before you add the stock, in with a glass of wine, glass of white, glass of rosé, pop it in, and just let it all bubble away, and you'll get that flavour. So I would say do that if you're doing other types of risotto, but for me, this was a feed your family for £12 recipe, and I just want to keep it good value for money, and ultimately it still tastes delicious. That's just a sort of optional extra. However, if you do put a glass of wine in, you might as well drink the rest with it, because I can't think of a better thing to go with this. Okay, keep on stirring. Okay, how does risotto rice differ from normal rice? It's all about the length of the grain. So you'll notice this is a short grain rice. If anyone used to ever make rice pudding with an old pudding rice, it sort of reminds me of that, a very short, fat grain. Things like longer grain, basmati's a lot longer and finer. And it's just got all of that starch in, which is going to make it super creamy. And the reason this gets creamier as you stir it is because the amount of starch in the rice, as it stirs around the pan, the particles of rice are sort of bashing off each other, and then it's releasing starch, which is what's giving it the creaminess, so hence the stirring. And why do you add the stock a little bit at a time? Because if we poured it all in, what you'd really be doing is just boiling the rice, and you wouldn't get that, how do you say it? You basically wouldn't get the particles of rice bashing against each other, which is what gives the creaminess. So shorter grain on the rice, stock a little at a time. That is what gives you a creamy risotto. And it's really nothing to be scared of. A lot of people, oh, I've never done risotto before, I order it out in restaurants. It really is that simple. Okay, keep on stirring that away. Okay, in we go. And the other recipe that we've got this week with Fresh Market Update is that Med Veg Cornish Cruncher Tart, which is super, super simple, but really delicious. Ready roll puff pastry in the oven. Basically cook down some char grilled veg. You can buy that frozen in a bag. Pop it into a frying pan, a little bit of oil, add in a jar of this everything sauce. It's a classic tomato sauce packed full of garlic and herbs. Simmer it down. Tart case comes out the oven. On with that delicious char grilled med veg and tomato sauce. Crumble over loads of this Cornish cruncher cheddar. Top it off with some basil. So simple and really, really delicious. And next week, I believe we've got a couple of chicken recipes coming up, and my favourite of the two is a katsu chicken burger, which is just beautiful char-grilled chicken breasts, brioche bun. Star of the show is definitely the katsu ketchup, which is all of the flavours of that Japanese katsu curry in a ketchup, spread on a brioche bun, toasted, char-grilled chicken, little bit of lettuce, bit of spring onion, lid on top. Perfect for sitting outside in the sun. I can see there now the rice is starting to absorb all of the stock there. Just got to keep on going. And you might end up needing a little bit more stock, because depending on the size of your pan, if you use a really wide pan, it means more water or liquid can actually evaporate out at any one moment in time, and you might find that you get through your stock quicker than others. If you're using a really small pan like this, because there's less of a surface area, less can evaporate from the surface, so you might find it'll either take longer or you don't quite need as much stock. So for me, there isn't really a set amount of stock for volume of rice. It's just about playing it by ear. If you need to add more liquid into your saucepan or even another stock cube, just keep on topping it up. It's been stirring for about 6 minutes, so just keep that going. Now, the next thing I want to prep is the peppers. So you might have done them already. For me, I haven't. I've literally just got back from Jersey, come straight from the airport, so I'm going to do all my prep here. Out they come. I've taken the oil off them. We just get these out of the pan. I mean, such a great thing to have in the cupboard. You could just stir this through pasta. You could pop it on top of breads. Really is a lovely, lovely product. And you can cut it up into however big you want, to be honest. 2 centimetre pieces or smaller if you want it small. And I love the sweetness of these peppers with the creaminess of the risotto. It really is fantastic. Keep on chopping them up. And obviously all of the oil that's in there will be going in, not all of it, but what's coating the peppers will be going in there. And that's going to add even more flavour. And you can see on these peppers, you sort of get that char grilled element. If you were to do that at home, it would take a long time. You could actually, if you wanted to, cook them off on the gas directly, put them in a plastic bag, it then sweats, you can peel the skin off. However, it's all in a jar, it's done for you. It's a fantastic thing. It's a great product to add into things like this risotto. And fresh asparagus, someone's asking, could I use fresh asparagus? 100%. Now the key is you do not want to overcook fresh asparagus. I was in the Wye Valley filming, we've got asparagus recipes on the way, and actually to eat it fresh from the ground, asparagus, first of all, is one of my favourite seasonal British ingredients. It's a short season, you don't get much time for it, and I think that is the key to seasonal British food and learning to know when it's in season and getting a taste for it when it's at its best, and you actually look forward to it coming into season. I don't want to eat asparagus in September when it's been flown in from abroad. I want to eat the British food when it tastes its best. And if you want to add it in here, literally the last few minutes, I would say the time we add these peppers in would be the time to add asparagus. You want to keep all that freshness and crunch. And if you want even more sweetness, you can use a purple asparagus. And there's a couple of ways I like to cook asparagus, not just in risottos, but if you want to get down and buy some, it really is one of my favourite, like I say, seasonal things. The farmer I met told me the sort of king asparagus, the really big thick ones. A lot of people look at that and think, oh, that's going to be a bit woody, it might not be so juicy, but actually that is the most juicy one because you've got a bigger, how do I say it, flesh ratio to skin ratio on the asparagus. And the best way to cook that is to split it lengthways down the middle, season it up, olive oil, lay it flat on a tray, so you've got the flat base of the asparagus against the tray, and because you've got a bigger surface area, you get a lovely caramelization across the base of the asparagus, and it's just really sweet and tender and delicious, and really simple to do. I think that's the key when you are using things like asparagus, Jersey Royals, seasonal ingredients. Keep it simple, and it does all the hard work for you. Lorna would like to know, would a piece of fish work on the top? Absolutely. So what you could do here, I think some salmon would be delicious. You could actually incorporate the salmon into it, or you could bake it off or fry it and place it on top. However, for me, dice up some salmon, little cubes. The final couple of minutes, you can literally drop them in, and the heat in the pan will just poach that salmon through. But by all means, pop a piece in the oven, fry it off if you want to boost the protein content of this. Lovely idea. Okay. Could you make a rice pudding with risotto rice? Yeah, you can. I've done it before. Sometimes pudding rice, you might not always see it, might not always be available, but you can pretty much guarantee you'll always get risotto rice. Just treat it the same. I tell you, if you want to do a nice rice pudding, one of my favourite things to do is to spice it. So to actually crack some cardamom pods in there, a clove, a little bit of cinnamon. Oh, really, really nice and subtle. And then you can look at whatever fruit's in season and stew it and put it on the top. So for me right now, rhubarb, bang in season. Literally, you could roast it off in the oven with a little bit of sugar, or you can pop it in a pan, a little bit of sugar, like I say, because it is quite acidic. Make a lovely rice pudding, spice it with cardamom, cloves and cinnamon, stewed seasonal fruit on top. When you come into autumn or whenever, pears would be delicious. You could use apples. I think you've got to start eating and cooking with the seasons, and that is what I'm learning with all of these farms and farmers that I'm visiting on Fresh Market Update. So stay tuned for more tasty recipes coming your way. Okay, so this is looking really nice now. Just starting to sort of slide off the spoon. You still want a nice texture in there. A bit more of my stock going in. We've got our peppers chopped. And everyone's will take a little bit longer to cook. It's all going to vary depending on how hot you've got the pan. Someone else asking about different substitutes. So we've got pesto. A tapenade would be delicious. You could use a red pesto. Or you could just leave pesto out. You can really play around with it and make it your own. Okay. And I personally find this quite a relaxing thing to do when you're not trying to beat a world record. I think standing there, Friday night, have a drink, glass of squash, glass of wine, whatever you fancy. Stir, stir, stir. Really nice thing to do if you've got friends coming over. Nice one to sit outside and eat in the garden as well. A little bit more stock going in. get the heat up a tiny bit on there. Any more questions? Keep them coming in. And we will have more Sparks Lives events coming up with myself and Andy in April. Trying new products, doing a couple of recipes. Okay. Oh, here's a question. Some people use cream in a risotto. Should you? I'll be honest, I'm not a massive one for putting cream in. Butter is the classic way to finish it. So I really like Parmesan and butter in a risotto. However, I'm not going to say you shouldn't use cream. If you want to try it with cream, go for it. If you want a really creamy texture. But for me, if you just focus on stirring, that is what is going to give you the creaminess. Okay, so someone's asking, should you start with shallots or onion? This one just has garlic. Absolutely. However, this is our stock cupboard risotto. So in the stock cupboard, the whole concept of this was, what can we make that is amazing using things that come in a jar, so you don't even have to go to the shop. You might have been away on holiday. You've got nothing in. Hey, we're going to be on holiday soon. You might come back. You haven't got time to go to the shops, and you think, what have I got in the cupboards? I've got a bag of rice. I've got some pesto. I've got some easy garlic. I've got some sun-dried tomatoes. The basil, you might have it on a window box. If you don't have it, it's not essential. Everyone's got a stock cube kicking around. So the whole concept here was just to show you can make things with some amazing stock cupboard ingredients. And M&S do that perfectly. But classically, yeah, onions in there. A little bit of garlic, if you want it. But again, this is all about the stock cupboard. And for me, the successful home cook has a well-equipped stock cupboard. I think if you've got amazing stock cupboard ingredients, you might see a recipe that's got 10 or 12 ingredients on it, but generally 8, 9 of them are probably things from the cupboard. It might be chopped tomatoes, it might be pesto, garlic, and then you only ever have to buy the fresh. It might be some tomatoes or peppers. But again, this was just a really good example of what can be done with things in your cupboard at home. Can I add more water if it is too dry? 100%. What I've done there, I mean, I'll do it right now. If you're running low on stock, you can literally just add a bit more water, a bit more stock cube, just loosen it off. And what makes the good consistency? Okay, for me, the perfect risotto, if you put it on a plate, the grains should not be stacked up on each other. It shouldn't be a mound. You should be able to give it a little wobble on the plate. I'll show you at the end, and it will just naturally fill out to the sort of natural shape of the bowl. It shouldn't mound up like that, okay? It should be nice and loose, just still running off the spoon. And we do want a little bit of bite to that rice. We want al dente. But again, if you want to really cook it down, if you like your rice soft, you go for it. It's all about how you like it. But for me, that is the perfect risotto. Is there such thing as a dessert risotto? Great question. Well, to me, it would almost be like a rice pudding, wouldn't it? But I'll be honest, I've never come across an ordered dessert risotto anywhere. Maybe it is a classic thing somewhere in Italy. I haven't done it before, but I would definitely say don't put onions and shallots and garlic in, but you could put in some cream, some sugar, some spices, and keep on stirring it. Follow this process. Don't use stock. Use maybe coconut milk. There we go. We've just invented a Marks & Spencer sweet dessert risotto. And if you've got any leftovers, arancini, I'm telling you, is the way to go here. So if you don't know what arancini is, or you've never made it before, you go to an Italian restaurant, arancini is a deep fried ball of rice. Now, what you need to do is make a risotto like this. You add in a lot of Parmesan cheese at the end, and you let it go completely cold. And if you think about it, Parmesan cheese will then go back to a solid form when it's chilled down, and this will turn into like a block of rice, which doesn't sound so appealing, but when you get it out of the fridge, roll it into balls, dip it in flour, egg, and breadcrumbs, and then drop it in a deep fryer. The outside goes crispy and golden, looks like a Scotch egg, and in the middle you are left with the most oozy risotto consistency. And I'm actually salivating now thinking about it. So I'm pretty confident I'm going to take some of this home and make arancini tomorrow. If anyone does make it with any leftovers, do let me know. This is looking great now. I think a little bit more stock can go into there. I'll have a little taste of it as well, okay? So the key is, don't overcook it, but make sure it is cooked. I don't want to be crunching on this. I don't need a trip to the dentist tomorrow after this. I want it to still be fairly soft. There we are. Now, a little taste. Have a go on it. That is really close. I'm going to give that another minute, and then we will go in with these peppers. Delicious. Okay. If you are cooking along tonight, share and tag me and M&S in your pictures. And from the M&S Classics range, my friend Emma, that works at M&S, a little bit of a wine expert. I'll be honest, she knows more than me about it. Oh, she's taking it off the screen. So I'm just going to recommend a wine from the classics that could go with this. Keep on stirring there. It's, ooh, classic. Sorry, I'm reading this as we go. Classic Garvey. There we go. That is what you need to serve with this risotto. Right, that is looking perfect now. Sorry about that, a little bit of a technical issue. More with my eyes than anything else. And now we can drop in those peppers. Drop them in. This adds colour, it adds flavour. And we want to put them in now so they sort of retain some of that shape. And that smokiness is going to go into the risotto and just sort of balance out the creaminess that we've got there. That just takes a minute. We just need to heat them through. They are already cooked. There we go. This looks delicious. That is just starting to drop off. 1 minute on there, then we'll knock off the heat, in with the pesto, in with the cheese. If you need to add a little more liquid, you can still do that. Just a tad. And it is coming together nicely. And obviously, taste your rice. If your rice has still got a lot of bite to it, just keep on stirring. Don't need to add the peppers yet. Wait until it is just about done. Would the cheese work? Yeah, it would. So we've got, you can use an Italian hard cheese if you want to go full veggie. You could use Parmesan, Pecorino. But to be honest, it's not the purest thing to do, but even like a hard cheddar, Cornish cruncher would be delicious because it has that sort of saltiness like a Parmesan and that quite firm texture. But you could stir in anything like a cream cheese or mascarpone as well at the end. Okay, we can take that off the heat now and we can stir in 4 teaspoons of our pesto. Just 4 to start with. I don't want to overpower it, but I will dollop a little bit more on top. I've got some basil. Tomato and basil, classic combination. You can tear these basil leaves in like this, and we tear them, you don't need to chop them. I think you lose the flavour of basil if you chop it. It's all about just tearing it roughly. And then we've got our Parmesan cheese here, it goes into there. A nice grating of that goes in. That's going to enrich it, and it's going to make it even more creamy, but also season it. You'll notice we haven't actually added any salt into this tonight because we've got plenty of seasoning coming from that cheese. Smells lovely. And we'll have a look in there now. We are just going to fold all of that pesto, cheese, basil, through the sun-dried tomato, red pepper risotto. If you're making this, please do tag me in your pictures tonight. Enjoy it. Perfect little bit of food for a Friday night. That can come off the heat. Grab my serving dish and we can get it into our bowl. Okay. I mean, this looks amazing, and I'm hoping it's going to be a record breaker. So in we go. You can see the perfect texture there. It's just rolling out of the pan like that. And you can see it's naturally just sort of falling to the shape of the pan, the bowl, sorry. And if you give that a shake, it will just settle itself down. That, for me, is the perfect consistency for risotto. What I want to do is just dollop on a little bit more of that basil pesto. We can finish it off with a little more cheese as well on the top. And then a final flourish of basil leaves. And if you've got any sun-dried tomatoes left, you can pop a couple on the top if you want to make it look pretty. Completely up to you. This is your dinner, this is your risotto. A little bit of basil. And there we have it. I'm going to hand over to Sophia now and see how we got on. I mean, fingers crossed here.
Okay, Chris, that looks delicious. So I can tell you that all of you today have attempted the Guinness World Records title for the most tickets booked for an online cooking tutorial. Now, we're going to need a little bit longer to verify the exact numbers. However, I can tell you that the current record is 1,000 participants. And you have beaten that by some margin, which means that you are officially amazing. Congratulations, you have a Guinness World Records title.
Get in. Oh, what a way to end the week. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Look at that. A massive certificate. I mean, this is like dream come true stuff, this is. So there we have it. A world record breaking risotto cookalong with everything from a store cupboard, and the lovely Sophia there with a certificate for us all. What an amazing Friday night. I can't thank you enough for joining in. If you've made it, obviously tag me in your pictures. Hopefully tag me and tell me that you've broken a world record. Sophia, thank you so much. This is amazing, like it really, really is. I'm a bit lost for words, to be honest. We're record breakers. And everyone,
thank you so much for having me.
And everyone will get a certificate, right?
Absolutely, you're all going to get them in the email. So congratulations all, and thank you for taking part.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Sophia.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, I tell you what, I am absolutely buzzing. I'm starving. I've got a lovely risotto, and we've broken a world record together. So that is really the perfect end to the week. The risotto is going to be delicious. I'm going to leave you to it. Go and enjoy your dinner, and please do tag me in your pictures and let me know how you get on, and stay tuned for more Sparks Lives events coming up soon. We're going to pop them up on the screen there now. So we've got a skincare event, not with me, on the 6th of May. You'll probably be pleased to know. And on the 19th, the Art of Banksy virtual tour and cocktail inspiration. Cocktail inspiration sounds like a bit of me. So stay tuned for all the updates. Have a fantastic night. You are all officially world record breakers. Thank you so, so much. Enjoy your dinner, and thank you, Sophia.
Thank you. Take care.
See you all later. Good night.